I need you, guys and gals. So I wanted to be able to create something, a platform in which to be able to spread knowledge, health, and well-being to everyone around me. And in doing so, we've created this amazing community of patients and clients and friends and everyone wanting to learn more and more about what I've been doing. And now that the podcast has been taken off and people have been following me a little bit more on social media, there's a common question. Where did I learn all this stuff? And so over the past few years, I've been kind of cramming all this stuff together, and I've created this coaching platform where you have one-on-one access to me, and there are two different types of plans. There's a 6-month plan and a year-long plan for coaching, where I help you from how to start the business from the ground up, how to test properly. There's modules, there's handouts, there's basically all you got to do is say, hey, I'm in, pay your fee to get in. I will train you, I will coach you, I will get you up to snuff to make sure that you can start helping people in your community as well. And if you're like, is this for me? Anyone who has a beautiful heart inside, there is a vetting process for this, or an application process. I don't want terrible people joining this program because I don't want terrible people doing terrible things to people's health. You have to have a heart of gold here. You really want to help others, and it doesn't matter what your background is. You could be a health coach, you could be a nutritionist or a dietitian, you could be a nurse practitioner, you could be a medical doctor, you could be a chiropractor. It doesn't matter. What I'm able to teach you is at a level that all the way up to like a surgeon can understand, all the way down to somebody who's never spoken a lick of health terms in their life. And then I can help to educate you to be able to formulate new custom protocols to be able to help patients in your community. So if that's something that you're interested in, please reach out to me so that we can start opening this up and enrolling new docs or new patients or new people into this program so that they can learn what I've been able to do so you can help me to help the world. Thank you in advance, and I look forward to meeting with you guys. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Doc Jock Show. Let's continue to get uncomfortable. So, last week, we released a podcast episode basically talking about what is cholesterol, what is its role, what does it do, what is the breakdown, and what are the ideal markers that you would want to see if you're actually going to get your cholesterol measured. We dispelled some myths, how the cholesterol piece came into play, and ultimately we led us down a path of understanding from something that may have been an unknown concept to us, a fearful concept at that, because we are all trained to believe that heart disease is going to kill us. Quite honestly, if we don't do something about it, it will. Heart disease and cancer are still two of the top leading causes of death in America. So long as you live here, you may want to start hedging your bets now. And this is what this episode is for. So this is the episode that I have been waiting to do, just kind of chomping at the bit of this. This is going to be such a useful episode. I do my best again not to swear. I'm going to get all pumped up again here. So let's just dive into this here. So when we have issues with cholesterol, a trained physician like myself, a trained doctor like myself, whether it's a chiropractor, functional medicine doctor, naturopathic health expert, a naturopath, a medical doctor, anybody who truly understands cholesterol should understand this concept as well. And if you're a doc out there and you're listening to me, you're like, I want to understand what you know, I have a coaching program for that. I can teach you everything I know. This is going to be one of the most impactful things, in my opinion, not just now, but in the future as well. Because as heart disease continues, just the diagnosis of it continues to rise, and then the rate of death continues to rise, the rate of mortality continues to rise, it becomes scarier and scarier every year. And then we pass these limited beliefs on to our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, and then this continues this self-perpetuation of chaos that is coming from within. When it comes to high cholesterol, any doc who tests you and sees high cholesterol, whether it's an in-depth panel or not, should not first say, what do I need to give you to lower it? They should say, what can I give you to test why it went high, right? High cholesterol is a symptom of dysfunction in the body. Okay, it's a symptom of dysfunction. If it goes like insanely elevated, there's something going on that caused your body to do that. It is an adaptive state. Again, like I said in a previous podcast, this isn't something where it's like my body made a mistake. Your body does not make mistakes. Never. Not once. It always has to adapt to what is around it. So now we ask ourselves, well, if it's not a how can I break it down, it's a what can we test? What would you do? I've had people ask that. What would you I have high cholesterol, or my dad has high cholesterol. It was always normal and now it's high. What would you test? Here's what we've got. All right, now the basic stuff, the basic would be taking a look at the gut, taking a look at the adrenals and the hormones. Say gut, neuroendocrine. The other piece is going to be more in depth. There's going to be the detoxification side of things, and there's going to be some more questions. There's going to be geographical locations on that. And so we'll start with that piece because it's easy, it's quick. And so we'll start with the thing that we see quite often, and then that's going to be mold toxicity. Right? You're like, how the heck? What are you? You're reaching on this one. No, I'm not. Look up the research. It's very simple. There's plenty. All the stuff that we're going to go through is Googleable. It's DuckDuckGoable. It's anythingable. You don't even have to put PubMed or NCBI at the end of the question, but just type in Google. Does mold toxicity cause high cholesterol? You'll get 1,000 documents saying absolutely. So if we first say, okay, we have high cholesterol and I put you on a statin, is that going to help you with mold recovery? Absolutely not. Okay. Now, this is a key point because there is a certain doctor that's out there that will prescribe statins with mold toxicity. And I think it's one of the dumbest things in the world. If we decrease our cholesterol, then our body will not be able to repair. And one of the most common things that happens when we have mold toxicity is our cells just completely get obliterated. Our brains get obliterated. We get this moldy brain, almost worse than like chemo brain. We can't think properly. I used to joke around and say, my brain isn't functioning at 100%. This is terrible. I don't know what's going on. So when we think about this, we're like, okay, well, mold toxicity, it's associated. So high mycotoxin levels are associated with hypercholesterolemia. So a lot of cholesterol in the blood. It also causes damage to the liver. It's damage to the gallbladder as well. Okay, and mycotoxins, what they're going to do is they're going to bind to those lipoproteins in humans and in animal plasma, and it's going to induce that hyperlipidemia. Okay, so again, if we have high cholesterol, questions come into play. What does your house look like? Have you ever been, have you ever had mold exposure? And usually with mold, it's easy to get to the diagnosis in that you've been everywhere. No one can figure out what's wrong with you, and you don't feel safe in your home. Mold. Okay? It's usually that simple. Now, you can have things like respiratory issues, asthma, allergies, immune complications, or you get sick all the time. You can have chronic cough. You can have recluse behavior where you just want to stay indoors, which is like the most twisted thing with mold is that you don't have the energy to go outside, but it's like there's this demonic force around you that keeps you in the surroundings that is killing you. We see it all the time with mold toxicity. The only time we don't is with children, with kids with mold toxicity. They, for some reason, there's no research to state why, they have a tendency to get the heck out. Like, I don't want to be in here. I don't know what's going on, but maybe it's like the whole, like, kids are more apt to see like spirits and stuff. Like, they're less indoctrinated. So when a kid feels unsafe in an environment, they're going to tell you that. They're not filtered. They're not filtered down. They haven't been brainwashed to say, no, that's not a possibility. So when we think about that, if we have high cholesterol, it could be an issue with mold toxicity. If we have mold toxicity, there's tests for that. You can run a mycotoxin panel, see how much mold is there, and then do a process to eliminate that mold, right? And then work to rebuild. Another thing that we see in terms of the toxicity standpoint is going to be heavy metals. Now, we know lead in general is just terrible for you. You're not supposed to have lead anywhere, no lead paint. I always think about the movie, is it Tommy Boy or something like that, where they asked Chris Farley if he used to eat paint chips when he was a kid. And he's like, oh, yeah. Wait, why? And it's like, well, it damages you. So lead is a high correlation causation between high cholesterol, high triglycerides, and high just overall lipoprotein content. So lipoproteins are like your LDLs and your HDLs, okay? DL density lipoprotein. So LDL, HDL falls into those categories. Now, lead exposure is going to increase triglycerides, non-HDL calculated and LDL calculated, but then you're also going to find a correlation causation with cadmium, mercury, and again, with lead. So cadmium, there's conspiracy theories are putting cadmium up in the air. It's raining down on us, chemtrails. Whatever you want to believe in that, it's up to you. They absolutely are true. I'm really excited. This is one of the most exciting years that I've seen to date. I don't get excited by too much, but when I see states banning spraying the skies, I start to get some hope back. And you can't tell me that chemtrails don't exist if they're being outlawed in states. I'll sip my coffee. So anyways, so when we're talking about these types of things, we talk about pesticide exposure too. Pesticides are also going to have a high correlation causation with hypercholesterolemia too. All right. The other piece is the mercury. Mercury should be being phased out. You shouldn't have any silver fillings in your mouth. If you do, they are mercury fillings. You have to find a good dentist that knows exactly what they're doing to extract them. It's a very, very, very difficult process. If done improperly, you will be worse off than just having them in your teeth. So most dentists will say, just deal with it. I don't really like that mentality. We're in a process of trying to find a place for Megan to get hers out, but that's something that can cause high cholesterol as well. So whether it's toxicity from pesticides and inorganic foods, from mold toxicity, from heavy metals, that can cause high cholesterol. Will a statin solve that? No. It'll band-aid it. It can make the situation worse and decrease your ability to recover. Remember, cholesterol, if you're put on a statin, it's going to decrease down your CoQ10. CoQ10 has abilities to be able to repair, an antioxidant, anti-cancer, helps our cells. It helps like everything in the body. Okay. So again, statin's not going to solve that issue. What else do we have here? Adrenal health. So this is, I mean, like, why do we have high cholesterol? Come on. We're stressed probably more than we ever have been in our lives. The cost of food, atrocious. Our level of leadership in government, atrocious. Wars everywhere, atrocious. Feeling unsafe going out of our house, never been worse. Right? Like this administration, I call myself apolitical anyway, so don't think I'm putting one side or the other. I do have my own opinions on it, but I'm not going to push them here. But in reality, if we look at our day-to-day life, I've never felt more unsafe under a president in my life, not once. Okay, so there's stress all day, every day. Parents, stressed. Lack of sleep causes stress. What this is going to show, stressed individuals are going to have an obvious increase in serum cortisol. Okay, and I don't like to test cortisol in blood anyways. It's inaccurate, but it still raises your cortisol. And then you're going to see high levels of total cholesterol and LDL in the body, right? So it didn't say HDL, the quote-unquote good cholesterol, just a raise in the LDL, as well as the triglycerides. Triglycerides being one of those markers that are like, really don't want that to be elevated. Chronic fatigue is also going to be associated with diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. So if we have high blood pressure, we're going to have inflammation to the heart. Inflammation in the heart is going to automatically raise cholesterol. If we have diabetes, we already talked about that in the previous podcast, but diabetes is going to have an impact on causing the brain to shrink, causing an increase with cholesterol production going up. And then if we could put on a statin, statins are going to lower CoQ10, which is going to increase diabetes, which is going to increase neurodegeneration within the body. So again, adrenal health. So what would you do for that? I would test your adrenals and I would test your hormones. So I would do a Dutch Plus on you for that. For the detox side of things, you would do a mycotoxin or a total tox burden. And you could take a look at the heavy metals and see if we need to detox those out of the body as well. Now let's save the best for last in terms of what would you check? Gut health, man. Come on. Gut health. You will never find somebody with high cholesterol without a bad gut. It's impossible. Right? I guarantee you, if you have high cholesterol, something's going on in your gut. Whether it's you don't have 2 to 4 bowel movements a day, and you're like, what's 2 to 4 bowel movements a day? I have like 2 to 4 bowel movements every couple weeks. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no way. Yeah, that's one start, right? So what we're finding is doctors are studying the gut. And I still say, I mean, I know we got a brain, but I still say, I keep leaning more towards that gut, man, being like the be all end all. Because anything you put in your body goes into the gut. Now, we can control our thoughts, feelings, and emotions through brain, and then we could talk about the the vagus nerve, vagal tone, and how that's going to impact our digestion. But reality speaking, the main thing we're going to be using every single day, besides our wash, rinse, and repeat cycle with our brain, is going to be our GI tract. Okay, so we find they're studying that we're finding new levels of bacteria in the gut. So good guys in the gut actually help with the breakdown of cholesterol in the body. So it breaks it down. So they're finding if there's an imbalance now and we have too much of the bad guys, not enough of the good guys, then the good guys aren't able to eat the cholesterol. And then the byproducts from the bad guys are going to create higher cholesterol because it's going to create low-grade inflammation for a longer period of time. Okay, now John Hopkins is saying that the wrong balance of bugs in the gut, again, is going to be raising more levels of byproducts that are going to cause high cholesterol. So endotoxemia is basically what they're talking about. Now, leaky gut, which, I mean, you can look up the stats on leaky gut. I think 1,000% of people out there, if you're not actively pursuing correction of leaky gut, we all have it. I mean, shoot, if we have an inorganic berry, glyphosate is going to cause leaky gut. It's like, we more than likely have it unless we're actively pursuing against it. When we have leaky gut, right, we're going to have an increase in inflammation, and that's going to cause heart disease, diabetes. Okay, so heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver disease, high cholesterol, again, hypercholesterolemia or hyperlipidemia. Okay, now if you're like, how do I know if I have leaky gut? I've never really thought of it before. There's signs and symptoms you can guess, or you can run a GI map, which would fit this entire criteria for your GI health. It'll test everything for you, right? Because if we have leaky gut and we have high elevated zonulin is going to be a measurement in leaky gut, and leaky gut is going to be in development of chronic metabolic disease. So high zonulin, high cholesterol, high risk of metabolic disease, right? Going back to the gut, guys. What else? Infections. My favorite, H. pylori, right? So H. pylori, again, it's going to do everything. So it's going to disrupt lipid and lipoprotein metabolism. Metabolism means breakdown. So it's going to decrease our body's ability to be able to break down lipoproteins and cholesterol within the body. It's going to result in high triglycerides, high total cholesterol, high LDL, high ApoB, and lower levels of ApoA1 and HDL. So it's actually going to drive the quote unquote bad guys up and decrease the good guys down. H. pylori. Okay. And again, with 50% of the population, it's like 90% of the population has this freaking infection. You got to get rid of it. You got to. There's no, like, hands down, no questions asked. Like, I got a dude that I'm working with right now. Phenomenal human being. Absolutely phenomenal. And he came and he had a whole bunch of cardiovascular markers that were just like lit up red, like, oh my Lord, high. And within a couple of weeks, blood pressure went down, heart rate went down, heart rate variability went up, energy is up, sleep is better, like everything improved in a couple of weeks, right? And what did we do? Did we actively give things to lower blood pressure or cholesterol? No. Did I give him, different, strains of yeast, red rice yeast and all that stuff to try to bring it down? No. Did I give him niacin? No. Did I give him any special extracurricular things to lower? No. What are we working on? H. pylori. Okay? If we can reduce our toxic burden from within, we're going to reduce inflammation. By reducing inflammation, we're going to reduce need for cholesterol to be produced by the liver within the body. Okay? So H. pylori, huge. And it's insanely well documented too. Like when I'm looking through and I was researching, you type in H. pylori and cardiovascular disease, H. pylori, high cholesterol, grab yourself a cup of coffee, get comfy on the couch, get to reading, and you're just going to be like, I got to get tested for this thing. And you should be thinking these things. You should get tested. You should get treated for these things so that you can avoid these risks. The list goes on here, right? Because H. pylori is going to cause leaky gut. It's going to cause inflammation. It's going to cause endotoxemia. It's going to cause this next one, or the next two here, it's going to cause Candida overgrowth, right? So Candida overgrowth is going to affect the blood, the heart, the brain, the eyes, the bones, and everywhere else in the body, right? And when we talk about the brain, right? So beta amyloid plaquing, what they're finding is Candida crosses the blood-brain barrier, damages the brain cells, and the brain produces beta amyloid proteins to try to protect against the damage from Candida. Now, if we stack that with giving you a statin because you have high cholesterol, right? You're going to lower your body's ability to be able to heal. You're going to lower your body's ability to be able to produce testosterone. You're going to increase your chances of type 2 diabetes, which is going to increase your chance of brain atrophy and shrinkage, which is going to stack into neurodegenerative disease. Can you see how statins are terrible yet? I'm going to keep going here. I'm tired of Band-Aid approaches, right? I'm absolutely tired of the Band-Aids. And that's all medical doctors and cardiologists and those are going to give you is just Band-Aids. There's a bunch of holistic coaches out there just Band-Aiding the issue. Get to the cause. Why did the body adapt this way? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Why did my body choose to adapt? What did I do to myself that forced my body to do this? Right? What was it? Right? Moving on. SIBO. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This has been getting a lot of podcast time. It's been getting a lot of book time. And there's a doctor, Dr. William Davis, who I freaking love his books. I'm going to be traveling to Spain tomorrow, and I'm going to be bringing his books with me because I just love reading and learning with him. He talked about the most potential, in terms of like markers and stuff, the most potential and most important cardiovascular risk marker. He's a medical doctor, right? So they're not all bad. The most important marker you could take a look at is going to be whether or not you have SIBO. So testing for SIBO is going to be the most predictive as to whether or not you're going to have cardiovascular events and cardiovascular disease, right? So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is going to cause hyperlipidemia, and it causes endotoxin production and oxidative stress to the liver, which then stresses the liver out, causes more LDL production, more cholesterol production, right? And so if we're like, well, how did we get SIBO? Well, our diets are terrible. If we listen to the standard American diet, we're going to have SIBO, guaranteed. If we eat sweets all the time, SIBO. If we're stressed all the time, SIBO. If you've had a couple rounds or just one round of antibiotics, SIBO, right? If you have poor stomach acid, SIBO. H. pylori, you're going to develop SIBO. So all of these things are beautifully and horrifically interconnected. And so when somebody comes to me and they're like, Doc, I have high cholesterol, I go, why? Why? And the doctors are trained to be like, oh, well, I have to change my diet. I had a lady the other day say that the doctor said that the diet has no impact on the cholesterol at all. And I'm like, wow, they're just paying less and less attention to your diet. And to me, that translates to, I don't know, maybe it does, but I can't give you advice whether or not it does. If I told you that it does and you would ask me what would I recommend for a diet, they don't have an answer. They don't freaking know. They're trained to just give the standard American diet. That's what's making us sick. Okay? So between what's causing it, we've got the GI tract, we've got the adrenal state of health, right? Chronic fatigue. We've got detox pathways that get bogged down. What is going to contribute to detox pathways, right? Your liver health. Your liver's going to detox. What's produced in the liver? Your cholesterol, right? If we're getting stuck, we're getting bogged down. We've got great phase 1 detoxification, terrible phase 2 detoxification, and it's slow. We're going to be detoxing all these things within our body. Then we have this accumulation of metabolites that accumulate within the body, and then that's going to like flow out, and you're going to have free radicals that are going to be going all throughout the body, causing inflammation and damage. Then your liver's going to be like, oh, shoot, we need more cholesterol to heal that and that and that and that and that. Right? So if we can take away the threat, if we could take away the burden, heal the liver, fix the liver, work on those enzymes, the AST, ALT, some of these other markers, and albumin, we can take a look at how well your liver is functioning. We don't want to develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or just fatty liver disease. We don't want that stuff. So how do we reverse the hand of time? This is what makes me crazy and insane when it comes to these cardiologists, is that they don't pay attention to any of this stuff because they don't have the time, they don't have the patience, they don't have the knowledge on what actually causes this disease, until it takes like a Dr. William Davis where they just kind of get fed up and they're like, hey, let's look into more depth. Let's look into more research. Or Suzanne Humphreys, where she was noticing trends and patterns in her practice. And she's like, oh crap, vaccines are causing nephritis and causing all these other things to occur. Now, what else can cause high cholesterol, right? Diabetes, kidney disease, PCOS, hypothyroid, autoimmune stuff. So we got lupus, RA, type 1 diabetes, psoriasis, and IBD, right? So like, just like I was saying, and I'm not doing this to toot my own horn, I'm doing this because like we overcomplicate this stuff because doctors don't know what the heck they're talking about, and they're supposedly the gold standards of health. And then you have these holistic coaches over here that are saying all you need is this delightful Band-Aid over here, and this will help take care of the issue. And then you have people like me in the middle like, hold on, stop, both sides, just stop for a second. Let's recognize this pattern's not looking good. That's not looking good either. We could take that to buy us some time, right? We could do some things. We can get some hawthorn. We can get some cayenne. We can get some other things that can help with cardiovascular health. Niacin, sure, we can help some of that, of course. But if that's all we do, then we're just, it's no different. We've got medicine, then we've got herbs. And if you're using them for the same thing to treat a symptom, you're never going to be well. Because as soon as you come off of those things, you're not going to be healed. You're not going to be recovered. Okay, whether it's a blood pressure medication or a statin, Is that going to approach diabetes, kidney disease, PCOS, hypothyroid? Is it going to address mold? Is it going to address H. pylori? Is it going to address yeast? Is it going to address SIBO? No, it's not going to. So you're telling your body to shut up. Like, no. I look bad on paper. I'm trying to get good health insurance and life insurance, and you're killing me here. I need to get those markers down. How do I do it? Fix the cause. And then you have these guys over here. They're like, all you need is this little herb, right? And that's all you need. And then so you lull these people into thinking that they're doing something good because they're not choosing medicine. But the same thing happens. Things can get worse because it's not, if I give you Hawthorne, can you feel great? Absolutely. Absolutely. And do I think everyone should be on Hawthorne? That's one of the ones where I'm like, yeah, why not? That has no level of toxicity effect on the body. It's phenomenal for you. Yeah, Hawthorne, cool. Is it going to get rid of mold? No. Heavy metals? No. Right? SIBO? No. Chronic fatigue? No. May help a little bit with chronic fatigue because decreasing inflammation. Is it going to help with H. pylori? Is it going to help with Candida? Is it going to help with SIBO? No. None of it is. Fix the cause of the problem if you want predictable health into the future. Because I can predict your health into the future if you choose one of the polar opposites, right? The future is going to be very bleak for you. You're going to feel let down on either end. And where the holistic people get me, it drives me crazy. I talked to my wife about this yesterday, is that you're parading around saying all you need is this, right? The natural will work, and it can, right? It can work. Absolutely. It can help at treating the symptoms. Absolutely. And would I prefer this over this? Yes, because there's less side effects with an herb than there is a medicine. Okay? But what happens is, say 4 years down the line, you've been on Hawthorne for forever, but your cholesterol is going up and some of your other stuff is going up. Your MPO is raising, your plaque is raising. And you're like, oh God, what's going on here? What, why? And then you turn against natural and you're like, you know what? I gave natural a shot. I gave it a shot. It let me down. I'm going to go to medicine because they've always got something for everything. Because we're all indoctrinated from a very young age that medicine cures all. When we try to branch out and we try to say that the natural, the herbalism can help with it as well, that's great, but we're doing it in a step of faith until it falls out. As soon as the faith goes away, as soon as we start realizing it's not doing exactly what it was intended to do, then we're going to shift back over because mom and dad were right, grandpa was right, great whatever was right. So when it comes to this, we got to stop using these excuses. It's not your age. It's not your genetics. It's not your bad luck. It's your life choices. What are you doing? What are you doing in life? Are you accumulating heavy metals? Are you accumulating mold? Are you eating terribly? Are you chewing down antibiotics? Are you stressed all the time? Do you sleep? What lifestyle factors are you currently doing that are well documented to raise your cholesterol? And if you truly want to get to the bottom of it, you have to test it. And to answer the follow-up questions, your medical doctors aren't going to do it. You have to fight tooth and nail. I don't know what it is. I think since COVID, doctors are being just kind of pains in the butts. They're not willing to play well with others. And we're asking these docs to run these panels for some of the patients that they're under. We co-manage patients. And if I'm like, hey, Susie's insurance covers it, if I can get that doc to do it, and I give the doctor the exact script, I'm like, hey, do this, please, and your patient will get covered. Like, can you do this? No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to test my own. And then they lie to the patient and say, you don't need that other stuff. And I'm like, for the love of God, that tells me you're a terrible doctor. You don't care about your patient's health. And I'm sorry to say it, but I haven't found a single doc who doesn't think differently with that. If you're out there, please reach out to me so I can refer people to you if I need your expertise for something. But there's only one cardiovascular surgeon that I trust, and he's a patient of mine. And I send my patients there because he's more of a management approach. He understands our approach. He understands what's really important, and he gets down to the brass tacks of it. And he's a great cardiovascular surgeon if somebody needs it, right? When it comes to surgery, sometimes you need those things, but afterwards you better figure out what in the world is going on that caused that dysfunction to begin with. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to break your body down. Every single medicine that you take is going to destroy you. It is going to kill you. I can promise you that because every single medication has a negative side effect. All right. It's a sacrifice. They should start saying that. It's not a side effect, it's a sacrifice to your body. I take this to sacrifice my body so that one number will go down. I gotta get health insurance. Like that's like I'm just like thinking out loud. This is how my brain works. Boo. People are like, ADD is not fun. I'm like, it's hilarious. I love it. Multitasking. It's a sign of excellence, in my opinion. But anyways, when it comes to that, and you're like, I need low cholesterol to get approved for a high platinum, care plan or whatever for life insurance or whatever it might be. And I'm like, well, I know all the negatives that are going to happen when you take a statin to lower that. And your life insurance wants you to take the statin, even though they should be well versed on how it's going to make you sicker, but yet you get a higher coverage for that. It's almost like they know they're going to make a crap load of money off of you if they can get you into this bracket. Like it's really insane at this point. I mean, cardiovascular health, cardiovascular doctors, they're a racket. I mean, just like we talked about this in talking about high cholesterol, these things are all going to raise your blood pressure. Every single bit of it. The stress, the toxicity, the mold. Actually, mold can drop your blood pressure because you become hypoxic. Your blood pressure can tend to drop quite a bit, which they would still try to give you blood pressure medication, which they did to a patient of mine who had AFib serial history of insane low blood pressure. They put her on a blood pressure medication. And then she was like, I'm so tired. I'm like, yeah, no crap. That medication's making you tired. So when it comes to these sacrifices, what are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to sacrifice our health? Are we willing to sacrifice our life? Men, are we willing to sacrifice our testosterone? Right? Or are we willing to sacrifice our toxic behaviors that accumulated this cholesterol to begin with? Because to me, if you have kids and you choose not to take care of yourself, it's selfish. Because that means you're not going to be there for your kids. You're not going to be able to be 100% for your kids. You're going to have excuses, right? And then you're going to pass those excuses on to your child and say, you'll know what I mean when you get to be my age. Which means, and I'm almost getting emotional at that because I would never want my son, my daughter to feel that. Because if I take away your power, then it's only a matter of time until you also die, until you also develop cardiovascular disease. If you do the same, like if you make the same recipe, right? If you say, oh, the genes, okay, take those same genes, throw them in a crap bowl, and put all the crappy ingredients that your dad ate, drank, took, and you're just spinning the bowl. And you put that bowl and you put it in the oven and you bake, and it takes 40 years to bake. And you just keep dumping toxins in. When you get that cake out, you're going to get the same exact cake that your dad got, that your granddad got, that your great-granddad got, etc. If you don't change the ingredients. If you change the ingredients of what you're putting in there, you don't have to have the same cake. And I'm laughing because I'm talking about cake and cardiovascular health, but you don't have to have the same outcome as your parents. You don't have to. You can choose to, but you don't have to. And when you have a child, and I love, if you don't follow Drew Canoli and Organifi, follow him. The dude's amazing, especially like since becoming a dad. Like he created a new kids line of greens and things. And I love and appreciate that man for everything that he's doing. Some of the best products that are out there. Yes, I have a code DocJock, but that's not even the point. The point is when you become a dad, you start realizing that there's things in this world that are bigger than you. And we can leave a legacy in business. We can leave a legacy in a house. We can leave a legacy in a car, whatever it may be. But to me, the legacy that you need to do is you need to pass on that generational health to your children. You need to teach them. You need to teach them how to eat, how to be, how to behave, okay, how to sleep, how to drink proper water, filtered water, how to get the greens in, how greens are actually good for you, carnivores, like how to be a healthy human being. And the more you can instill that faith in your children, you can break the mold of what your family has passed down to you. And then that kid is going to have a better set of cards than you did. Like for me, my health journey didn't start until mid-20s, and I'm 37 now. Okay? So maybe like 10 plus, 12 plus years or so that I've been on this journey myself. Okay? My son, my daughter, since birth. Right? So they have a 20-some year head start on taking care of their health. I am excited. I am ecstatic because as a father, as a provider, that is all I want to be able to do is set the example for them, teach them what it takes to be healthy, have them understand what a doctor's visit is. They've never had a well visit in their life. I run my own diagnostic tests on them. I treat them holistically. They've never had an antibiotic. The only time they've been to the hospital is because my son loves to cut things. He dropped a brick on his foot yesterday. He cut his upper lip open, I think like 7 months or something. What else did he do? He got hit in the eye with a fan, so he's got a scar over his eye, which all, by the way, is going to increase his cholesterol. But like other than that, he doesn't know that side of things at all, right? Use medicine for what it's designed for. It's in first aid trauma care. Use hospitals for what they're used for, first aid hospital care. If you're having a heart attack, don't call me if you're having a heart attack. It's too late, right? Go do your thing, come back. When they tell you all the crap medications to get on, I'll decipher that for you. If you haven't listened to these 2 podcasts, we'll put you on a better schedule so you can have health and well-being and not be set up for another heart attack, right? There's so many natural things that, yes, you can take that can prevent heart issues, right? You can lower the caffeine intake. You can do meditation. You can lower your stress state. You can sleep better. You can take hawthorn. You can take turmeric or curcumin. You can take niacin. You can take other things to help you along the way. But if you're still foundationally broken, you'll be taking those for life. And that's not truly health, right? You're masking health. You're paying for health. Invest in yourself. Find that underlying cause. Find these tests, right? The GI map, do a Dutch plus. You could do a heavy metals test, or like I said, total toxin burn, or you could do a mycotoxin panel if you think you have mold toxicity. Run these things through and see what we come up with. And then as a side effect of removing and fixing and tweaking these things, you don't have high cholesterol anymore. You don't have high blood pressure. You don't have high triglycerides. You don't have type 2 diabetes. You don't have high CRP. Because why would you? Your body doesn't need to produce that stuff anymore because you took care of it. You fixed the cause. You fixed the leak, right? You found out what was going on and what was causing your health to leave you. So those are my departing words for you, is if you're looking and you're like, man, I really want to make sure I'm protecting my heart. What can I do? At the very least, do a GI map and a Dutch plus test on you. Look at those adrenals, right? Call the office. We'll get it for you. And if you think you have mold, if you're curious about heavy metals, let's do it. Let's test it. That way you can find out, hey, what might be going on in my body and how might I be able to fix it? Not just now, but so that it's fixed for the future, right? And that's how we get our health. That's how we break from the system. That's how we start to invest into ourselves, where we wake up each morning and we're not fearful that we're going to have a heart attack, because heart attacks happen usually first thing in the morning. Most men have their first heart attack by the age of, I think it's 60, probably lower now, right? And say I turn 60 or 61. When that time comes, I don't want to wake up in the morning fearful that I'm going to have a heart attack. But I know that if I do all of these things that I've been doing my entire life or the last 10 plus years for the rest of my life, I'm hedging my bets, making sure that that does not happen, that I don't become one of those statistics. So take care of yourself now so your health will take care of you in the future, so you can enjoy retirement, you can enjoy old age, and you can age gracefully instead of aging terribly. Okay? So that being said, always, always, always remember, you have to be your own health advocate. There's people yelling from the rooftops. There's influencers yelling on one side or the other. There's doctors yelling on one side or the other. Sit in the middle, sit with the research exactly what I read in here for you. This will not steer you wrong, and I will never steer you wrong with health advice, not once, because I know what it's like to be misled on both sides of the aisle. Take care of yourself, and again, your health will take care of you. So I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in today. Share this with anybody you know with cardiovascular issues, and hope that this helps to make a change in their life for years to come.